The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Hey, this is the Sports Broads. Today we've got an interview with Adam Gold. Adam Gold is absolutely fantastic commentator here in our local area in Raleigh, Durham. Adam Gold has his own show on 99.9 The Fan, which is a radio station here in Raleigh, Durham. It's called The Adam Gold Show, and it's available on podcast forums, wherever you get your podcasts. And he talks about all kinds of sports, not just hockey, but he also has the Canes Corner podcast, also available anywhere you can find podcasts, where he tunes in right after every Hurricanes game and gives a update on what the game was like and fills us in on all the little details. I've also got Ashley here with me.
Hey
Hey,
there.
Ashley.
Hey, Shay.
And hey, and this is Shay. And we're really excited to bring you this interview. This is kind of our preview to the interview and how it all came about, because I think talking about how this happened is actually a really cool way to get into um, the kind of person that Adam is. Adam Gold here in the local area, covering all kinds of things for 99.9 The Fan locally here. And I really wanted to talk to Ashley about how this interview came about. We're a new podcast. We only have one episode. And when Adam met, or yeah, sorry, when Ashley met Adam, we didn't have any episodes. We had nothing. We had no footprint on the internet at all. And I don't even know if we had our name yet. We may have had a name, the Sports Prods, maybe. So Ashley, I just wanted to take a few minutes before we play this interview to talk to you about how it is that you met Adam and the absolutely amazing way that we were able to bring him on the show. So I just have some questions for you. So
Okay.
where were you? What were you doing when you met Adam? How did that happen?
I was at one of the training camp days for the Hurricanes. So when the Hurricanes do training camp before the preseason, they bring in their guys and they go to a local arena that's not the Lenovo Center. It's a smaller training facility that was built, I think, in like 2020. So it's a really nice facility that they have. And so I went to one of the days of training camp and I was sort of watching the training camp happen, but I was in kind of an outer area that's not the sort of cold, freezing area that you can sit to get closer to watch the players. And I don't think I had the right clothing that day to go and sit in that arena because, as you
It's good.
know,
It gets cold in there.
it
Yeah.
gets real cold in
Yeah.
there. I mean, I had listened to or seen Adam, I think, do the Rod Brindamore interview that we referenced in the first episode. I was like, well, I kind of want to go up to him and say hi and tell him that, we're sort of new fans and do the fan thing and be like, oh yeah, my friends and I are going to start a podcast, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't expect anything. I just expected him to kind of be like, oh, that's great. Maybe
So
not
when you
in,
saw him, you recognized his face from the video interview with Rod Brindamore.
I did, yeah.
Ah, okay.
So, I went up to him and I was like, hey, are you Adam? And he said, well, yeah. And he was, very open and kind. And I told him that, I was new to sports and that I was going to start a podcast with my friends. And he was like, oh, what's it about? And he started asking me more and more questions. He was genuinely interested in what it was that we were going to try to put together. And he very kindly said, if there's anything you need, this is my email. Let me know. And I was quite surprised. I didn't expect, because as you mentioned, he is the hardest working man in sports right now, I think, because he does the Adam Gold show for 3 hours a day. Then he'll go to, cover whatever sport is in season. In between periods, he's also on the radio when the Canes play, if you're listening to the radio. And then at the end of the game, he does the Canes Corner. So he's doing, at least three different things every time there's a Canes game. So, for him to offer up his time, it was, very touching, especially for somebody he didn't know. We had absolutely no experience in the sports world. And we had, as you mentioned, no digital footprint whatsoever.
So what were you doing at a Hurricanes practice? You must have been a really big fan to go to one of their practices.
One of the things that I don't know much about is how the inner workings of a team and how practices work. And I was curious about how those things worked, because it's not like I'm gonna suddenly be a part of an NHL team practicing. And I wanted to kind of see the new players, because they bring in the prospects again. So who are people who are in maybe the I guess the feeder teams. What are they called? The affiliates. There we go. So they'll bring in some of the affiliates, and you've seen this season how some of those prospects are now in the lineup because of the injuries that the Canes have sustained. So some of those guys that weren't initially on the roster came to training camp and then are now part of the team because of the injuries. So they kind of bring them in to see how they work in what's called the system that they employ during games. I kind of wanted to see that. I talked to the team reporter who Adam talks to frequently during Canes games in between periods. I think they're called intermissions. Asked him some questions about how the team works and what different things mean, and he was very nice about it. Then I saw Adam there, and I was like, well, hey, I want to reach out to this guy and tell him hi, and that we watch his show, and that we're kind of inspired by all of his knowledge to kind of move forward with our podcast, that kind of thing. That's why I was there. I was interested in seeing how it worked.
Is there a lot of media coverage at these training camps, did you see?
So I think on day one, because there were a couple of days of training camp that it goes over a 2-week period, and so they go between the Lenovo Center and this training facility. And so the first day of training camp, you'll have more media than anything else. So Adam came to see the prospects. Mike Maniscalco, who is the voice of the Canes, basically, and Trip Tracy, who is another voice of the Canes type situation, was there. And then the local television media came. On that day, the coach, Rod Brindamore, came out to talk to the media about all of the prospects and all of the people who came to training camp, because it was Nick Ehlers and K'Andre Miller who had been traded to the Canes, and they showed up for practice. It was kind of the first big day. And then after that, the media wasn't there anymore.
So what's the vibe of a training camp scenario? Is it like, are there people like clapping? Is anybody applauding? Is it like quiet? What is it like?
So it's pretty quiet for the most part. So you'll have fans that come in and they'll go sit in the arena. They have better clothes than I did. And they'll sit there, and they might have signs or something that's like, welcome K'Andre Miller. You know what I mean? Or something like that. And, because I think it was before school started, they had a number of like kids who were fans. And so, they would clap if they saw like a goalie make a, particularly good save, because they had, I think, 4 different people there as goalies to try to figure out who they wanted on the team. On the roster. There we go. So I think this one too it wasn't just the prospects. It was what I call the big boys, which are the actual NHLers. And so you saw them practice in 2 different groups. So you have the sort of A squad, which is made up mostly of all the guys that have been on the roster in the past. So you got your Aho and Jarvis and Slavin wasn't there, but you see what I'm saying. And then you have the sort of more prospecty guys in the second group, and they tell you when they're going to practice. So you get, these kids who are really excited, and they can, see their favorite player and see who may become their favorite player depending on how the season goes. And so he agreed to Zoom with us. Before he was ever actually on the podcast, he sat with us for like an hour, and we chatted
Something
with
like
him.
that, yeah.
Yeah, we chatted with him for like an hour.
He actually thought that he was coming on as a guest,
right?
And we just wanted to ask him about the procedures of podcasting. We just had technical questions for him, and he was ready to go. He was like, "Yeah, I'd love to be a guest." Yeah, which totally surprised me.
Yeah, I was absolutely blown away because I expect people to guard their time very jealously, especially when they're that busy. And he's very open and still says if we need anything to contact him about whatever questions we might have. And it's really fun to talk to him, and he's just full of stories and knowledge about pretty much every sport. So we are incredibly grateful to Adam.
Yeah, his love of anything sport really shines through. He always comes back to making sure that everybody's having fun. He always tries to bring it back to fun. At least in the time I've been listening, that's my impression. I am such a big fan now. I absorb his content on the daily.
Yeah. Same.
So when you approached him though, did you feel intimidated at all, or were you like, I'll just go chat with this person and see how this goes?
I mean, was I intimidated? No, I don't think I was, because one of the things there's only a few people on this planet that I think would really intimidate me. And, talking to someone who is clearly very open and, was, talking to other people, that is much, he was not intimidating. He seemed like a genuinely nice person.
We have been totally blown away by his jumping in and his offers to help and coming on the podcast the way he did. And especially when we know how much work he puts in. And you'll hear a little bit about that in the interview that we have coming up here in a second. But yeah, you can listen to Adam Gold's podcast, The Adam Gold Show, and The Canes Corner. The Adam Gold Show is on 99.9 The Fan, Raleigh-Durham, 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And make sure you check out his content, because he's got all the great interviews and always has really interesting depth of knowledge to share.
Our thanks to Adam Gold.
Really deeply appreciative of his efforts to help us launch this new thing that we are doing. It makes us feel really great, and we really appreciate him. So thanks, Adam, and we'll go ahead and play the interview now.
Thank you for joining us, Adam. We're very excited to have you. We really appreciate you being on with us here.
Pleasure.
Okay, so first question. Is there anything that annoys you more than the Hurricanes power play in 2025?
Traffic.
Okay.
I don't deal well with inexplicable traffic. Like, can we not exit and enter the highway? Why do we have bottlenecks by exits? Really, that kind of the stuff that I can't explain.
Gotcha.
That's what annoys me more than the Hurricanes power play. Are you saying the 2 for 29 is not good? 6.9%. It's bad even for the Hurricanes power play.
I mean, the reason I really ask is because I was listening to you today and I heard you talk about Svetch today. And I know you guys have you have a really good relationship with the team and with the coach. How do you navigate that criticism with the players and an ongoing relationship with the organization?
it's hard to have relationships with players,
Mhm.
honestly. And on this particular team, while I've got numbers, I don't really use them.
Mhm.
I did occasionally text with Brett Pesce in the past,
Okay.
but rarely during the season. It was mostly an off-season thing. And it's hard to have relationships with players. Back when, 20 years ago, for the team that won the cup, and like the subsequent years after that, I think I had more friends. Is not the right word. I mean, I did socialize a little bit with Eric Cole and Kevin Adams, and to a lesser extent, maybe Aaron Ward, whose name was on the cup. But I really didn't. We were not like, I texted with those guys, Adams and Cole, more frequently. But it's hard. It's really it's a line you don't want to cross. So it's better for all parties that we don't have any kind of friendly relationship. We're friendly, but when friends is not the right word. That wouldn't be how I would characterize any relationship I've got with a player.
After something like, I'm guessing you watched the World Series game last
All of
night.
it. I watched half of it.
I mean, I tapped out at inning 13. I was like, all right, I'm out. For those of you that don't know, the World Series game last night went, 18 innings?
Yeah, I went 8.
You're just like, all right.
I fell asleep during the pitching change when they brought on Sasaki in the 8th inning. That was it.
So with the kind of marathon that you tend to run with sport, what keeps you coming back pretty much every day of your life to the different sort of games? And
sports is, I was actually, when I was awake during the game last night, there are things that happen within a game that, I mean, they're significant, but like just specifically to that game last night, when the Toronto right fielder, Addison Barger, I think is his name, when he threw out Freddie Freeman at the plate in the 4th inning, 3rd inning, actually.
That was amazing.
And that served 2 purposes: kept the run off the board, ended the inning, and it also gave, I think, Toronto a lot of lift. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they scored their 4 runs the next inning. And that, to me, epitomizes why sports will keep you coming back. Because even within a game, there are things that happen that you could feel changes the situation. I have a great example for the Hurricanes, and I've referred to this many, many times. In 2022, the Canes had the best record in the East. I think it was the best. The best record in the East, and they beat Boston here in the first 2 rounds of the opening round of the playoffs comfortably. It was not going to be a competitive series. Carolina had a 1-0 lead in the second period. I think it was the second period of Game 3 in Boston, and they had a power play. I know it's going to sound wild, but the power play didn't go well. But they had a power play, and Boston scored a shorthanded goal on that power play. And you could feel that change the momentum. Boston wasn't very good. They just happened to make the playoffs. Carolina was the best team in the East. That should have been a short series. That series ended up going 7 games, and Carolina won Game 7 here, really based on the first period, and then they just kind of hung on for it. Then they lost to the Rangers in 7 games in the next round. But I thought that shorthanded goal that Carolina allowed changed the entire series with Boston. It gave Boston hope. It gave them life. And I think it made that a 7-game series. If that shorthanded goal is saved, and I think might have been Antti Raanta I think it was Antti Raanta at the time. If Raanta makes that save, then I think Carolina might win that game and win the series in 4. And I think the series with the Rangers is different. It's sports has moments like that change things, and it keeps you coming back.
As a listener, I've really noticed that you focus on the love of the game, and you kind of always bring it back to having fun. Does that just come through as part of sort of your personality, or is that something that you really aim to do?
I mean, there's serious stuff about sports, but ultimately it's just a game, and the games are supposed to be fun. I mean, if it's not like, you want to bring people to an entertaining product.
Mm-hmm.
So I think hockey is, I mean, it's an entertaining game to watch. So yeah, it's as a kid, it's all you wanted to do was play.
Mm-hmm.
All I wanted to do was play and then talk about playing or talk about my favorite teams. So it's cool that I get to talk about the Hurricanes because, I mean, I cover them and I'm professional about it, but they're my favorite. They're my favorite team. I like to. I'm a fan. And I sometimes that can be a difficult line to kind of straddle, but yeah, I'm a fan. I make no bones about that. But it's fun to talk about. It's fun. It's fun to be at the game.
Is hockey your favorite sport?
No,
No.
but I have a lot of favorite sports, but it's close to my favorite sport. My favorite sport is baseball, and I grew up a Mets fan. I still am a Mets fan. After that, I like, and I'm a new fan to it, but my next favorite sport would be soccer and golf and hockey. But like, there's not a big difference between if I was, those are my four favorite sports. Baseball is always number one, but I mean, my least favorite sport that I love is football. But I mean, I still love it. So it's like, if I said it was the seventh best sport, people would get mad. But I mean, for me, it is, but I still love it. I don't not love, it's an easy sport to talk about because more people like football than like anything else, which, I mean, I could spend a half hour just talking about why, but, but I love hockey and I grew up with it. So, it's the best sounding game by a mile, especially if you get up close to hear just the skates on the ice. Ooh, it's amazing.
I love that sound.
I can't make it. I can't make that sound because I can't skate.
I just started learning.
No. Good luck.
Yeah, Shai's husband is from Canada, so I think he was born on the ice. So he's kept me from falling. So I'm
all right.
Okay, trying. I'm trying. Not very successful, but I'm trying. Other than the sort of Boston shift, do you have any examples of sort of the goosebump moments that you have while watching a game, like during your career?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the building for games, the Stanley Cup Finals games 1 and 2. And 5. My heart sank at game 5 that year when the Hurricanes lost because I knew I wasn't going to be here for game 7. This is actually a funny story. And I'm not sure this answers your question, but I'll tell the story because I think the story is entertaining. So in 2006, I had gotten married the summer prior, and we had made plans to do a first anniversary honeymoon where we got engaged. It was almost a full year after. We didn't have a time for honeymoon because we got married in the middle of August. We just went to the courthouse, got married, and the football season was about to start. We just didn't have time. So our honeymoon was going to be the following summer, and we were going to go back to the city where we got engaged, which was Charleston, South Carolina. I love Charleston. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. And we made the plans, arranged everything, all that. And then about midway through the playoffs, I'm like, that's going to be maybe during the Stanley Cup Finals? If like, who knew the Hurricanes were
no.
going to be there? Like, I realized, a long time ago, it was like mid-June. What am I worried about? I hadn't seen hockey in mid-June. I mean, 2002, the Hurricanes were in the Stanley Cup Finals, but I don't know. I didn't remember. And so as the playoffs are going on, I'm like, yeah, it does look like that might be like the end of the Stanley Cup Finals. So Hurricanes win the first two games. I go to Edmonton for games 3 and 4. They lose game 3, but they win game 4. And I'm like, all right, win game 5 at home. We hoist the Stanley Cup. Somebody sprays beer on me in the locker room, and we're good to go. And 2 days later, we drive to Charleston and spend the week where we got engaged. And then game 5 happens, and the Hurricanes give the puck away in overtime, and a long-range shot gets deflected, and Cam Ward can't pick up the deflection, and it beats him over the shoulder, and they lose game 5 in overtime. And yeah, and games, I was supposed to go to Edmonton for game 6, but we were supposed to leave 2 days, like not the next day, but the day after. And I sent somebody else, and I watched game 6 and 7 from the King Street Bar and Grill on King Street in Charleston, South Carolina. And yeah, I've never lived it down. Kevin Adams, the GM of the Buffalo Sabres, will remind me when we speak. Eric Cole will remind me when we talk about it. And he'll say things like, "Oh, you remember Capes? No, you weren't here. Never mind."
Ouch.
So I covered every home game in the regular season and the playoffs that year, except for one.
Oh man.
Except for one. Yep. There you go. I did drink out of the Stanley Cup at John Forsland's house, though. So
that's cool.
that. Yeah.
I think June's very excited about that.
That's really cool.
So that's and in some ways, it's the opposite of being elated. But when they gave up the goal, my heart just dropped. I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, after the fact, my wife said, you could have gone back. And she's a hockey fan, so I could have. But I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. I'm just not.
I think that's smart. I think that's a smart thing.
She can pretend all she wants. Oh, it would have been fine. I'm like, I don't know if it would have been fine. So it's whatever. It is what it is.
I'm sure they'll get another one. And I'm
I hope
sure
so. I hope it's this
sure,
year.
yeah. I'm optimistic.
Okay, good.
Why not?
I like to see it.
So for people that don't sort of know you, can you take us kind of through a day in the life, like maybe the season opener where you were at like Lenovo starting at like 9 a.m. and then
All
you
day.
did the podcast. You had the super crazy marathon day.
Yeah, that was a long day, and I was here all day. And I think we started a little bit later. We had a 7:30 start because it was an ESPN game, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a little bit later. So my days start, I mean, I got stuff to do at home, and I drive my son to school, and he has to be at school by like 7:30. So we left the house about 7:00. Actually, it was a shade earlier that morning. Probably got up at 5:30 that day. My wife owns horses, so we had stuff to do in the morning. Nobody wants to hear that. But it started about 5:30 that morning. I got here for the morning skate, which is 10:30, and I never left. And I was here all day long. Game started at 7:30. I was done with my podcast duties probably 11:30, quarter to 12, and drove home. So I got home. It takes me by the time I leave here, 45 minutes to get to get in my back door. So I walked in the house probably around 12:30. So that was a solid 19-hour start. I mean, I didn't go to sleep right away. I probably didn't get to sleep till 1:30 maybe, but yeah, because there's adrenaline. So yeah, it was a solid 20-hour day. And that's a little bit uncommon, but on a day like today, we're starting a little earlier tonight, so I'll get to my podcast, which is after the post-game show. I'll probably get to it about, I think I've scheduled it for 10 o'clock. 6:30 game. We should be over by 9. Post-game show should be over by like 9:40. And about 20 minutes later, I'll start the podcast. Done with that by 10:30. And then however long it takes me to pack up and get out of here and get to my car and get home. But it's still a long day. But I'm watching hockey. It's just not that it's not an arduous day. It's just a long one. I miss a lot of the day at home. So the hardest part about this is like leaving everything up to my wife to do, or not being able, like Thursday. Actually, forget about this Thursday. Next Thursday, my son is a soccer player, and he'll have his first state playoff game, and I won't be able to see it because I've got a hockey game. I think the Hurricanes are on the road, but I'll still miss it because I'll be doing the game from studio screen in porch, which right now doesn't have screens on it, but that's fine. Well, as long as it's chilly, I won't be bothered by bugs. But right now the screens are off because we just had the porch cleaned, and you guys don't care about that at all. I don't care about it, but so yeah, missing stuff like that is the stuff that's way more important to me than how long the day is.
Sure.
Because the days go fast. I mean, that 20-hour opening night, that was one of the fastest days of the year. So it doesn't drag on ever.
So it kind of sounds like you have the life of a hockey player without being a hockey player.
Except the travel. Yeah. I don't travel a lot. I used to travel a lot for basketball during the NCAA tournament and the ACC tournament. And after 4 straight times boarding a plane, 4 straight weeks, I'm like, this is why athletes can be jerks. Because who wants to board a plane that much? And they do it night. Like they could board a plane 4 times in a 4-day span. And I want no part of that ever.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't blame you.
No part.
How much of your days involve like research about the teams and stats, and how do you figure out what you want to talk about?
Because I follow every game, the ongoing story. I mean, that does my work for me. Most of my research in particular games is about stats. Hey, when was the last time this happened? So, real life example, because I looked it up today. Andrei Svechnikov, who you heard me talking about today on the show.
I think he's June's favorite. Besides,
Freddie is it? Look, June. Do you have beads? Anything we can rub a rabbit's foot? Okay. So Andrei has not scored. He has no points. He has no goals. He has no assists. As alarming as that is, he has not committed a penalty yet. Now Andrei is a walking minor penalty. Most of them bad, but we haven't even gotten that from Andrei yet. And I looked it up today. When was the last time he had gone 8 games without a scoring point? An 8-game stretch. Year 1 of his career, the 2018-2019 season. Starting in the 5th game, ending in the 12th game, he had no points. But he had 6 penalties. He had committed 6 penalties during that stretch. And he had, I believe, 9 hits, registered, recorded hits. Later in that season, he went 9 games without a scoring point. But he had 20 hits and 7 penalties. In this stretch, he has no goals, no assists, no penalties, and only 5 hits. He's like 16th on the team in hits. He should be in the top 3 or 4, and I can't figure it out. They won't be able to maximize with him on the roster. They won't be able to maximize this year unless they get something out of Andre. It's just no good, and it's frustrating. But I researched that today. So most of the research is about things like that. When was the last time this happened? And I do that myself, even though it might be listed in the Hurricanes game notes, but I just rather go look for it. Come on, June. Think positive thoughts about Andre.
I usually do about him and Freddie.
Freddie's been great.
I love Freddie.
Freddie has been absolutely dynamite. So
Yeah.
I assume he's going to play tonight, but I don't even know yet because they didn't skate this morning.
Okay, so last question, since we're about to run out of time. What is your dream interview?
It's funny that I don't really think about these things. So now I have to think about what would my dream interview be?
I know, because you talk to everybody.
Yeah, well, yeah.
At least that's what it seems like.
In my little circle of the universe, I'm going to talk to our former governor, Roy Cooper, next week. A week from today. We're going to talk about the Hurricanes. My dream interview. Right now, if I could, and I'll keep it in the framework of sports. It would be Rory McIlroy.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a golfer, right?
Yeah.
He is a golfer.
A really
Okay.
good golfer.
Okay.
But he's just an interesting guy beyond the fact that he won the Masters and the career Grand Slam. But yes, it would be Rory McIlroy. I think there are a lot of issues, topics that I could get into with Rory, and I think he's a thoughtful guy, and I would love to have a conversation about that with him. In terms of hockey, I love talking to the commissioner, Gary Bettman, and I've talked with him, I don't know, half dozen times. I like Gary because Gary likes to battle. He likes to, he doesn't take your BS questions, and he gives it back to you. He's great. I love Gary Bettman. So, I'm trying to talk to him at some point this year. So, but, I've talked to him before, so I wasn't going to put him as my dream interview. So,
All right. Well, thanks, Adam.
Shai's husband. Shai's husband is my new.
You want
dream.
to talk to?
He would probably
Oh, wow.
love it.
You would, yeah,
True.
it would be great. You
Probably
learn
will.
so much.
Let's set it up.
Okay, you got it.
All right, you know my email address.
I think my
He's
husband will
a-
be jealous, though, Adam, I have to say.
Let's do it. We can do a round table.
He's from Toronto, but he's an Avalanche fan, so go figure.
Okay. All
Don't
right.
look at me. I don't know.
There you
I don't
go.
understand it.
Mine is a Hurricanes fan, so at least he's on board.
Yeah.
Luckily.
My wife she's from Buffalo, but she doesn't like the Sabres. She likes goalies. She's a fan of goalies. She loves, there are 4 Jose Theodore jerseys hanging in her closet.
Love it.
From my own heart, right there.
4.
Wow.
Koshik is why I fell in love with hockey.
There
I
you
grew
go.
up with Sabres.
She also likes catchers in baseball.
Yep, same
She
here.
She has a Jason Varitek jersey. She actually had my son convinced that who I was talking about, the soccer player, she had him convinced that Jason Varitek was his real father for 5 years.
Awesome.
I love that.
That's amazing. Well, I'm a huge fan, Adam. We really appreciate everything that you did coming here today. It's
Oh.
amazing.
Pleasure. Anytime, you know where to find me.